Hello, Missladypetal here for another vlog. A vlog. What kind of word is vlog? It's like we can't let go of the word blog. And we add the word video to it, and so we have to shorten it and make it a vlog, which is what I like to call it, vlog. But so many people call it a vlog. Yeah, just makes me laugh. So, what's been happening in the life of Missladypetal this week? Okay, well, I released another video on letter journals, and this was with some changes. So, if you haven't watched that letter journal video yet that had the checklist and told you a lot about why the problems with letter journals are occurring and things like that, then you need to go and watch it, particularly if you're in a current swap. Because at the moment I have a current swap that I've popped myself into, and that swap, each time I get it, I notice little bits and pieces that aren't being done according to the checklist or to the system, and that's why I released the checklist, because it's something that you can print out and just have hanging in your workspace, and then it just, you can check it off as you go, even if you're in the middle of a swap. So that's really cool. I have been working hard. I haven't done a documented life page this week. I've been working hard on letter journals again, because I got some letter journals, and I have also too been looking at doing some journaling Krazy Island style pages, so I've done a few of those this week, and one of them was a video tutorial, so that takes a bit of time, and working hard in my other businesses. So that's kind of what's been going on. But I got some really gorgeous happy mail. So I got with one of the letter journals in my mail, and this is from Gina, because you know Gina's a special friend of mine, and I love her to bits. Gina, if you're watching this. Anyway, she had sent me some beautiful things, one of which was her beautiful postcard. So a postcard, how gorgeous is that? I love it. And another one, too cute. It's like one of the Mindy Murphy's primitive faces, but on a bird. Loving it. This one is called Broken Promises. It's a painting by Gina. I really like that. And she sent me some of her, these are her hand-carved stamps. You might have seen a few of these around. She likes sending them in happy mail. She's done them on musical text. It's just gorgeous. Love that. And little mini tags. And a larger tag. So, oh, and she sent me some things from her grandfather's things, and I tell you what, I am absolutely in love with these. They're like cigarette pack silks, and they put them on in packets of cigarettes, like, what, in the 1940s or something? And I'm just looking for a few. Okay, so a silk. So it's on silk. And that's a bird. My favourite, I've got another one which I've sort of spirited away somewhere because I really liked it, but this is my favourite. It's a mini Persian rug, and it actually feels like a rug. And I'm definitely going to have to do something with that. I'm absolutely loving it, and I'm wondering how I'm going to use it. And use it to give justice, because it's quite old, right? But I walked into a store with a couple of my girlfriends. I caught up with a couple of my girlfriends that I haven't caught up with for ages, and for coffee this week. And we walked into this store, and we had this great exchange with the owner. And it was this like homeware store, but we were sharing a lot about where our kids are at in their journeys, and how much they're back chatters, and you know the problems that we have with them. And she gave us these. And it flips open, and then you've got something inside. So I'm sure you can read that. Yeah? So it says, there is only one happiness in life, to love and be loved, by George Sand. And I love that. That's going to go in a letter journal somewhere. And one of my girlfriends gave me hers, and it's got brilliance on it. And it says on the inside, be courageous. It's one of the only places left uncrowded. Food for thought, hey? Yeah. But what have I been working on this week? Okay, so this week I've been working on, I've got this fabulous reference picture of a nude, and this beautiful statue that my husband, a photo that he took in Brisbane for Mother's Day this year. I said to my family, I want to go round and take artistic pictures all around Brisbane for creating doodle borders and getting inspiration for art. And he took this beautiful photo from the back of a nude woman's sculpture right in the middle of the CBD of Brisbane, and I absolutely loved it. And of course, he, being an artist himself, he has a beautiful eye for perspective. So I finally dug that photo out, and yesterday just sat down and sketched for about 5 minutes. Sat down and sketched and I was quite happy with the results. It's just a and I added hair, but it's just a, you can you see that? A nude. And I'm loving that. I'm particularly loving the feet. So I did the feet over here. I'm loving that. And I'm actually, so that's my preliminary sketch that I did, where I was just looking at shadows and proportion and stuff. And then I'm actually planning on doing a canvas in greens and bronzes and blues and yellows and stuff, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. But that was my preliminary sketch for that particular painting, and that's gone into my faces journal. So I've got a journal that I'm working on where I'm putting faces into it. So, you know, love Tracy Bautista, so I was doing a pretty girl in one of her classes, so that's the cover. And I like the way she does her covers because it's all kind of collaged on the inside. And of course, you know, one of Claudia's pretty girls is in there as well, my magenta girl. And this was the study for autumn flowers and those using clear gesso. So you can see with this that it actually doesn't have a lot of, it looks quite dull. That's what clear gesso will do to something. Before that, there's lots of metallics. There's gold metallic paint. So that convinced me not to use clear gesso on a future thing. And of course, one of my girls from Gina's Painted Faces course. I like taking courses because it forces you to learn something new and to expand your skill base. Because if you keep going along the way you're going along and you don't think about doing something differently, then you can grow. But for me, I grow better in a class. So I'm just randomly sticking a lot of those projects into that faces journal. So it's a journal that I'm just doing on faces, but I'm also going to put nudes. And I think the study of the human body, for me, you know, where I'm sketching and drawing and painting and stuff, they're going into this journal. And you know, I don't have a dream to actually have that one done by the end of the year. It's just going to, as I gradually learn more and more and do classes, and I don't use those photos for other things, because sometimes I use them for journaling Crazy Island stuff pages, and I use them for other things like documented life. If they fit in with a prompt, I'll use them for that, because it forms like a dual purpose. And the other thing I've done this week, apart from working on and sending on letter journals and stuff, is I received from Gina in the mail a massive jelly plate. Like, if you want to get an idea of how big that is, it's 12 by 14 inches. So that is actually bigger than my chest trunk, you know, my body. It's huge. And I actually got that because I want to use particular jelly print techniques in my art, and I needed one that was big enough for, you know, medium-sized canvases. But anyway, I have had a bad back this week. So I've had a bad back. I had a bulged disc that was pressing on a nerve, so I'm really fortunate I could actually still do some art. There was a couple of days there I couldn't really sit down at all, and I just had a bit of a terrible time. But I'm feeling really good today because I went to the chiropractor a couple of times and he's moved the thing and just gently nudged that disc back in and realigned everything, and the inflammation's gone down, so I'm right. But I just was doing jelly printing some envelopes, and like you can get 2 or 3 of these envelopes on that big jelly plate, and I was playing around with different designs and finding things that worked and didn't work. I was not using a brayer. I decided I was not going to use a brayer for this particular exercise. I was going to use a credit card, so I used a credit card. And I also played around only with stamps, so I was working with different stamps and doing some envelopes. So, and here's one that's kind of, I'm just moving along, doodling. There we go. Just little bits and pieces. And just adding to them. So I'm just adding to them now, but I really like some of the textures I'm finding in some of these stamps. I really need to refine. Today I went shopping and found, and this is felt, but this is about the same size as the jelly plate, right? So this is like a felt placemat, but that's going to be an awesome geometric print for my jelly plate. So really nice for texture. It'll soak up the paint initially and then it'll become impervious, but it's going to make fabulous impressions on a larger scale. And I also got these, which I can give one away in a Happy Mail package because they're very, very light, but I really like that circular pattern. I think it looks really, really cool. And I find that cheaper paints work. Cheaper poster paints, like I use these great big kitty poster paints in my jelly prints a lot, and I can get them in like really cool colours. So, and they all mix together. The next one I need to get is a big yellow, but they don't often have the yellow. So the yellow blends the hots and the colds together really well. But yeah, I decided to use my stamps, and if you're wondering the sort of stamps that I was using, I make stamps. So I actually had a stencil and I glued a couple of pieces of cardboard together with a core, and I had a stencil and I cut out, and I'll just bring it up close, I cut out all these diamonds and then stuck them all onto the base, and this was a different one. So that's a little bit more further apart, but you can put them on both sides so that you can get 2 stamps out of one. And you can do like random patterns. So I've got random patterns of diamonds and circles and stripes and all sorts of things there. You can use your die cutting machine. So that's the funky circles. So that's a reasonably large stamp. Again, on 2 bits of cardboard. I haven't got anything on the back of that one, but I will do. But that's the funky circles stamp from Cuttlebug, and that makes an awesome stamp. Really awesome. I'll show you. I've got an envelope hanging up here, and this is the sort of effect that you get. And you can see those circles on there, and that's what I like. You know, you don't want them to dominate, but I really like that because then you can stamp over the top, or you can use rope. So that's swirls, and I've got another one over here that you can see where I've used like a fabric stamp where I've got all different types of fabrics and doilies underneath, but I've got those swirls over the top just gently. So you just see the hint of them. They don't overpower anything. Anyway, so I love making these stamps, and I've got a whole heap of these stamps that I use all the time in my jelly printing, and I find that, you know, if you don't want to use masks, you can use the stamps as masks. It's a good way to go. So what's been happening this week as well. I've had a bit of a, apart from having back, had some family stuff this week, and it kind of knocked me for six for a while. But you know, when you face problems and you get over the initial shock of problems in your family, and like this was with one of my kids, and pretty serious problem, something that we have to address moving forward, I find that you cleave together stronger as a family through those kinds of problems, and you kind of really find your backbone. Well, that's funny because my back was sore, but you know, you kind of find your backbone, and it either rips you apart or it brings you closer together. So what I'm finding is that as a family we're all kind of bonding together, and that is a really good thing. And we're all going to work together to solve the problems that were causing, you know, the problems for one of my boys this week. And we'll work really hard at that, and it's probably involve a bit of therapy and a bit of chat, you know. But at least they know that their parents care. They know, like my boys know I care. I'm not ignoring what happened. I'm not indifferent to it. It knocked me for six on one day, and you know, one of my boys saw that and they didn't like what they saw and they were upset. So, you know, stuff like that happens. And actually, I got to see Claudia's new grandbaby yesterday via Skype. How cute is little Logan? Very, very cute. And I'm back singing, so I'm still just that little bit nasally as I just get over the end of it, but I managed to make it to music practice this week and sang my little lungs out. Haven't got full lung function back yet, but I'm getting there. I'm determined. So, yeah, it's been a bit quieter this week, thankfully, a bit quieter for me, and that's a good thing, apart from the fact that, you know, and I cleaned up my studio and got a new chair. So I've got a new chair, it's a kneeling chair. I now have to figure out how on earth to use it, because the kneeling chair forces you to sit a certain way, and I've kind of got the idea that the one I got doesn't allow I think my legs are too short. Like, I actually think my legs are too short to actually sit on the ground properly and be in this chair. It makes me feel really tall. I've had to completely readjust this camera angle so that you could see me, because it got, you know, you could only see to like my mouth compared to the previous chair that I was on. So yeah, we're working through that to try and do stuff that, you know, makes me sit better, because I spend a lot of hours in this studio and I do a lot of work in it. So I need to really make sure that ergonomically, if I'm going to spend a lot of hours in here, that I actually then get really good with my posture, because I have spent a lot of years in desk jobs, and you know, when you sit for a long period of time, you actually have compression through your spine, and I have that. So we need to make sure that I'm stretching my spine out, and so that I can continue to create really nice art. So that's it from me this week. I don't have my afternoon tea. How bad is that? Like, I'm sitting here thinking I should be having afternoon tea with you, because it's the afternoon on Friday in Australia. Like, it's Thursday in the States, and it's Thursday in a lot of other places in the Northern Hemisphere as well, but it's Friday in Australia and it's Friday afternoon. So that's it for another week from me. I'm glad that I have only kind of good things to report, and you know, if any of you have any suggestions for what you want me to talk more about on my vlogs, just leave comments and ideas, or email me, because all my contact details are always on here, so it's easy for you to get in contact with me or find me to tell me something that you want me to talk about or explain, or ask a question and get me to answer it. Just like Lindsay the Frugal Crafter, although I swear I cannot compete with that woman. She's amazing. But if you've got questions about anything, well then ask and I'll answer them. Because I have a pretty good general knowledge of art now. And I'm happy to answer questions. I do a lot of teaching and I do answer a lot of questions in my day-to-day life. So I'm pretty good at answering questions now. Alright, for another week, remember, learn something new today keeps you young. Ciao.